لكم جميعا مرحبا بكم. إنه من دواعي سروري أن أرحب بكم جميعا في النسخة الرابعة لمنتدى أسوان
for peace,
هذا ما يأخذنا
for
في
sustainable peace and development, which takes us to
بالقارة حتى نحظى بقارة أكثر قوة وصمودا. وفي اليومين
and the two following days we will speak through the space available here in Aswan forum sessions on these matters. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome you here today in the opening session of the third edition of the Aswan Forum Sustainable Peace and Development. My name is Rami Radwan. It's an honor to be with you here today in the opening of this important event. Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development was established in 2019 in Aswan City as a high-level platform, a unique platform also in Africa that works on enhancing the ties between peace and development and enhances also the ownership of African issues and supports the efforts of the continent that achieves the goals of African Union Vision to 2060. This edition is held under the title of the Climate Change Tracks for a Peaceful Continent that is Sustainable and Resilient. This year it is held hybrid, which enables access to Africa and all the states in the world. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this edition is held in a critical stage where the whole world witnesses turmoils that cause many crises and dangers that was reflected directly on the African continent. In a time when the continent faces many existing challenges, especially resulted from corona crisis, in addition to the challenges or threats before peace and security. On the other side, African countries have many important factors that enable them to achieve prosperity, economic and human development in the continent through the African youth, who represent more than half of the population, and with the exerted efforts by the citizens in the continent in order to enhance the continent to face the challenges facing our countries and societies at the same time. The edition this year has a special position because it's a very important station on the way to COP27 that is hosted by Egypt in November. That's why it will tackle many issues related to climate change and its growing impacts on peace and development in Africa. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning of the opening ceremony, I'd like you to welcome His Excellency Minister Sameh Shukri, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most compassionate, ladies and gentlemen, ministers, August Assembly, it's a pleasure today to share with you or participate with you in the establishment of the third edition of Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development in Kenes on Egypt. By Egypt to support the African efforts to treat the exceptional current situations, which was reflected on the President's Kenes to deliver a speech in this forum, which it reiterates the importance paid by Egypt for Aswan Forum, which is considered and also embodies the ownership of the citizens in the continent for their destiny and leadership in providing inclusive and effective solutions for the problems facing the continent in cooperation with the international partners on a common ground that achieves the mutual benefit for everyone. Selecting the title of the third edition of the forum, Africa in the Age of Cascading Risks, and the effect of climate change, paths for a peaceful content and resilient content also. To leave a room for a deep dialogue on the issues threatening the peace and security of our African continent, with focus on innovative solutions to achieve the goals of African Union Agenda 2063 and Sustainable Development Agenda, or SDGs 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, the third edition of Aswan Forum is held within exceptional political and unprecedented developments witnessed by the international community. These developments carry many negative consequences, and most outstanding of them is the food crisis, which makes it difficult in achieving food security, especially in a time where the international economy and African economy suffer from the negative effects by the corona crisis. Then, hence, I'd like to provide the Egyptian vision that's built on the following axes. First, the importance of the diversification of food resources and securing the supply chain for the countries in Africa, including controlling the prices in addition to the continental coordination in order to reach self-sufficiency stage. Second, necessity to contain all the negative effects on Africa that are resulted from the international turmoils, and preventing the negative effects of the international challenges and facing the economic and security effects, and controlling the increasing prices in energy sector and its direct effect on increasing poverty and organized crimes, in addition to polarization by terrorism organizations for African use in Africa. Here, there should be a cooperation of international efforts to help Africa. Third, insist to adopt an inclusive approach to face terrorism and to achieve the sustainable development peace within the current developments, and building strong African institutions that are able to face the terroristic threats. In addition to highlighting the contribution by the African youth in enhancing peace and sustainable development, which that Aswan Forum was keen on by launching youth dialogue organized by the countries in the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt, as the coming president of COP27, it will work on coordination with its brotherly states in Africa to come out with specific results that help the international climate action, especially reducing emissions, adaptation, and building capacity to afford the negative effects of climate change, enabling also the African countries and developing countries by accessing to many tools, especially the climate fund. Out of this, in Aswan Forum, in this edition, we focused on the green recovery agenda and enhancing Africa's capacity to be resilient within the current crises that test the national efforts and continental framework. In addition to the climate change issues, within the framework of the growing effects on the development and peace and stability in Africa, like the ties between climate change and building peace, and the overlapping of climate change with food and water security, in addition to the nexus between displacement and climate change in Africa, which is a chance to deepen the treatment of these issues based on the discussions on them in the Peace and Security Council in African Union during the past period, especially in the Egyptian presidency of the African Union in November 2021. Take into consideration also what was mentioned in the report of the International Committee on Climate Change this year under the title of the adaptation and effects. In this regard, I'd like to mention that the awareness of the international community of the climate change and its threats requires the cooperation of different efforts of different parties in order to face the challenges of climate change and providing the necessary findings, especially regarding the adaptation, taking into consideration that Africa is the most affected continent with the consequences of climate change, especially although that is the least contributor in climate change. In conclusion, I'd like to direct my appreciation and thanks to my colleagues, ministers from Senegal and other African countries who were keen on attending this forum. I'd like also to thank all the partners who were keen on supporting this forum in different forms, especially from private sector, international organizations, research centers, and so on, which is a practical example on cooperation. In addition to the efforts of CCPA, that is a leader in African institutions that provide solutions for the African problems. We wish that this forum is an important point in the path of enhancing international mutual action to provide a better world and sustainable world that is resilient, facing all the challenges. Thank you so much. Thank you, Excellency Sameh Shukri, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Egypt. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to follow up or to listen to a recorded message by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of the Republic of Egypt, followed by a recorded message of Antonio Guterres from UN and the head also the head of the African Union Commission. Now let's listen to the message by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most compassionate, ladies and gentlemen, August Assembly, it's a pleasure to welcome you in third edition of Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development. It is an African platform that proves day after day, since its establishment during the Egyptian presidency of the African Union in 2019, that it is an effective an inclusive African platform where we discuss the different challenges that facing the continent, through which also we try to crystallize a mutual vision that enhances the relation between peace and sustainable development. It also enhances cooperation between us and between the international partners. Holding the forum this year is in a very critical time where the international community suffers from growing turmoils that have long-term consequences on different fields and different levels, whether economic, political and developmental levels, that are reflected also on our African countries, especially that on the food and energy security, to be added to the health, economic and social consequences resulted from COVID crisis that our countries still suffer from its negative effects, which puts another responsibility on our shoulders, which is the cooperation of mutual efforts to face these threats and to enhance our resilience to reach a safe shore. In this context, I'd like to highlight especially on the food crisis witnessed by the African continent currently, since it may have dangerous consequences on the stability and safety of our communities, which requires taking effective and accelerated measures in coordination with international partners and the international community to support the African countries in containing these effects by the diversification of food resources and securing supply chains to the countries in the continent. In addition to taking sustainable measures to maintain this food security by using the developed technology in agriculture and making it available for African countries. In addition to intensifying our efforts to increase our production of agricultural crops in order to reach a self-sufficiency stage, focusing on increasing resilience in food security, this year reflects our keenness and the keenness paid by our countries for the threats of and challenges of food security, and puts us before the responsibility of providing food for the population of Africa. Within the challenges and threats of water scarcity and prices increase, it requires to reach quick solutions in order to overcome this international crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, it's necessary also to, within the subsequent crisis, not to forget the other challenges that we still face in our continent. On top of them is the stability of peace and security and achieving sustainable development that we are looking forward to, in addition to protecting our countries and African communities from the spread of terrorism and the related phenomena. And the most dangerous of them is weapon smuggling and the increase of organized crimes and illegal migration, in addition to human trafficking. This pushes us to enhance our efforts through many initiatives to find innovative and effective solutions that allow us to overcome the difficult conditions that we should move forward to implement them by effective mechanisms and ambitious goals that achieves the aspirations of the population in the continent. In this framework, Egypt is keen on establishing the center of coast and desert to serve the population of this continent in order to face the negative consequences of this phenomena, in addition to building the capacities of the affected African countries, especially Sahel or coast areas, by providing training courses and participating in peacekeeping forces. In addition, Egypt launched the African Union Center for the Reconstruction and Development in post-conflict countries, in order to do an effective role in preparing the necessary programs and activities to support countries after conflicts and prevent returning to the conflict stage again. Ladies and gentlemen, the third edition of this forum comes in parallel with the approach of hosting COP27 conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, where your discussions during the coming 2 days will represent a very important chance to highlight the role played by climate change in increasing the challenges of peace and security in Africa, especially that our continent is the most vulnerable for the negative effects of climate change, especially on desertification, water scarcity, and natural resources, in addition to the undermining of development efforts and the special consequences made by the terrorism organizations to control the resources of the continent, which requires to accelerate the implementation of international commitments to our continent in relation to the adaptation of climate change. Negative effects, in addition to increasing the international fund and enhancing resilience, which can directly contribute and also effectively contribute in building peace and guaranteeing its sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, holding Aswan Forum this year provides a very important chance to continue raising the voice of Africa and making it reach to all the international partners at the international level and making its issues on the top of the priorities of the international community. In a very complicated international time where the priorities and concerns change in relation to the subsequent developments witnessed by our daily reality, in which the attention paid to the issues of our continent shouldn't be decreased, in addition to the cooperation for helping it at the international level. I can't miss to reiterate that enhancing women's roles in peace and security in Africa, in addition to benefiting from the power of youth and their vision in making the future of our country, is a pivotal axis that we should hold onto in facing the subsequent challenges, as they are the most vulnerable categories and also the most capable to face and support our strategy to achieve peace and security that are necessary to achieve sustainable development. In conclusion, despite the real efforts exerted and the achievements we did together in Africa in the past period, the exceptional conditions witnessed by our world today reiterate that the road before us is still long to achieve the aspirations of our peoples, which requires from all of us to cooperate and continue working and taking the responsibility and strong will that allows to reach our goal, in addition to the established faith that we can together overcome these difficulties in order to achieve a better future for our African continent. I'm sure that your deliberations and negotiations during the work of this forum will make a high-level and appreciated contribution to crystallize and draft visions that enhance our mutual efforts and illuminate the road for a better future for everyone. I'd like also to express that I'm looking forward to the outcomes of these deliberations and discussions after the end of this forum. I'd like also to thank you for your listening. May peace and blessings of God be upon you. All thanks and appreciation for His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of Egypt. And now we will listen to the UN General Secretary, Mr. Antonio Guterres.
Excellencies, dear friends,
والسعادة الحضور الكريم في خضم هذه المنتدى. كما تعلم أن القارة الأفريقية تواجه عدد لا ينضب من التحديات، وطبعا الأزمة الاقتصادية والتي تزايدت بجائحة كوفيد-19 وبالأخص طبعا بحرب الروسية على أوكرانيا، ووصول الناس لمصادر آمنة للغذاء أصبحت أيضا أحد الأمور الأخرى الغير متوفرة، وهذا يأخذنا إلى التعافي المالي الصراعات، وهذا طبعا يذكرنا في الوقت ذاته بأزمة المناخ. تقدم القارة الأفريقية فقط 30% من الغازات الدفيئة، إلا أن القارة ودول القارة هي الأكثر تأثرا تعرضا للمجاعات وللأزمات الخاصة بنقص المياه. وطبعا بكل الدول وهناك حوالي 10% على الأقل من الشعوب الأفريقية تعاني من إتاحة الدعم للحصول على أو الوصول لأمان واستدامة مستقبلية للاقتصاديات. ولذلك في مواجهة الكوفيد 19 قامت كل الشركات الدولية والحكومات أن تعمل معا لتقديم كل مساعيها لتقديم عدد من اللقاحات والأدوية. لابد أن نعمل على أن الدول الأفريقية أيضا تشهد مثل ما تشهد باقي دول العالم بالحصول على هذه الأمن الغذائي والنمو الأخضر والعلاجات والأمثال. لابد أن نتأكد أن هناك نمو تشهده القارة، وهذا المنتدى يساعد في هذا الصدد، ومن خلال كل الجهات المعنية لتعمل على تأمين
all the concerned parties, especially the security agencies, should provide strong and clear plans that addresses all the problems resulting from this climate change problem. In addition to also Paris Accord, if we do not commit to it, it will be a disaster. We should all help in identifying our needs. According to the programs of the African Union, all of them should work on achieving the African aspirations and using the available resources and reduce the use of fossil fuel in order to achieve a new revolution by using the renewable energy and the available raw material in order to support and increase the investments and to have a number of projects that provide many services that many African countries can benefit from, and to move together from using the fossil fuel and support the countries in order to build a green economy. In addition to increasing the investments, there are billions of dollars that are invested every year. We should give this chance for Africa. As you know, only 2% of this money are in Africa in the past decades. By the conference of COP27, there should be many endeavors that support and guarantees that all the peoples will be able to face the subsequent risks in the coming 50 years. You should know that the United Nations supports everybody to have a more prosperous future. Thank you. All thanks for Mr. Antonio Guterres, the UN General Secretary. Now we are listening to Moussa Faqih, the head of the African Union Commission.
أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، السيدة والسادة، الحضور الكريم.
Gentlemen, this assembly, it's a pleasure to be with you.
أننا نعكس على هذه النسخة الثالثة من منتدى أسوان للسلام
The third edition of Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development that focus on the endeavors and paths to achieve more prosperous and sustainable and safe future for the African continent, to face the problems of climate change, which provides solutions that can address these challenges we are facing now in Africa. Now let me express my thanks and appreciation for Egypt to hold this very important forum. Climate change issue is a very important or a very dangerous threat to our existence and to our civilization. It is also one of the most important things for the sustainability of development in Africa. In fact, climate change reflects with its negativity on decades of development and investments. There are also a number of other environmental challenges like the deterioration, environmental challenges, and water scarcity and food security issues also. This also increases poverty. All of this, unfortunately, increases terrorism and extremism in particular. The effects of these challenges are reflected on the different sectors in different societies that work on many things, especially in Africa. We have to face them on the economic, political, environmental and social level to face this growing crisis. Parallelly, the vulnerability of Africa comes on the top to increase the effects of COVID-19 crisis. We have to face this crisis and increase resilience. The AUC and its partners implemented the following measures. Developing a strategy by the AUC to be applied in the AU Summit 2022. In addition to increasing the green economy and the agricultural areas, especially in the developing countries. Second, achieving an action plan in implementing an action plan in 2022, and also a recovery plan from COVID-19 crisis. In addition to supporting the ties and relations between the concerned sectors, a number of quick partnerships that are relevant and quickly achieved in order to achieve ways that strengthen this continent. Actually, there should be many steps to achieve this. First, strengthening the developing countries within the context of several negotiations. At the same time, a number of plans has to be achieved in relation to the agenda of COP27. Second, transformation to green energy. There should be usages and applications in addition to capacity building in order to reduce carbon emissions. Third, leaving a room to work on items related to the funding, especially for companies and projects and the least developed countries. Fourth, investment to achieve sustainability and calling upon systems